All right, so this is the fourth step in chapter 2, um, free text. So how do we capture the text that the user types into your applications, right? So we have three different functions here, right? Text input function, password input function, text area input function, right? So each function, right, has these values in it within the parentheses. The very first one, for example, text input function has name, password input function has password, and text area input function has story. These are the ID that uniquely identifies each input collected from the user, right? So going back to the restaurant analogy, you go to a restaurant, sit down at a table, a waiter comes out, takes your order, and takes your order into the kitchen, and note that the waiter has an order slip with a number that uniquely identifies your order, right? So that it doesn't get mixed up with other orders, right? So again, input, the information is collected in the UI and then goes into the server. And based on this input, output is generated in the server. And the output goes back out to the UI, right? So input, um, there must be a mechanism where input is linked between UI and the server. And that link is this UI, all right? And all input functions have this first argument as an ID, input ID, all right? And the second argument usually is the label. So what is label? The label shows up in the UI. So for example, in text input function, the second value is what's your name, and that shows up in the UI. The same with what's your password, right? The second value here, and tell me about yourself, and tell me about yourself. They show up in the UI. And unlike the other two, text area input function has this third argument, right? So the third argument, r rows equals 3. So first two, we don't see the arguments. So for example, ID and label. But the third one, the argument's name is provided, r rows equals 3. The reason that um, the ID, the argument name, ID equals name, for example, the argument name is omitted is because the first argument's value is identified with its position, right? So in other words, the first value is always the ID, and the second argument is um, the label. And each function has different arguments beyond these two, and therefore we need to identify the argument's name, in this case, r rows. Okay, so let's do this in our studio. All right, so I'm going to the desktop, double click Mastering Shiny, and double click this project file to open our project in our studio. All right, so let me zoom in a little bit. Okay, so always make sure that upper right corner you see our project name, Mastering Shiny, is here, right? So I know I'm in the right place. App 1.4, this is from chapter 1, so I'm going to close that. Click on Files pane here. Let's go to Mastering Shiny here. So this is the home page. Now in chapter 2, let's click on chapter 2. We don't have the folders here, right? In chapter 1, we created code along 1 and apply 1. So we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to create code along 2 and apply 2 in chapter 2 here, right? So we're going to go to the File tab and then Shiny Web App. And then we're going to type code along 2 and then click Browse. And we want this in chapter 2 folder. Open and create. Now we see that here, code along 2 folder, and then we have app.r file, right? And let's do the same thing, another one for apply to. So Shiny Web App, and then apply to, and then browse, chapter 2, and then open, create. All right, so apply to folder, there's app.r file, right? So, right, so let's go to code along 2, click to open app.r. Now, this is section 2.2.2. So let's save this as 2.2.2 and hit save, right? And then right click, select all, delete, and then let's type Shiny app, right? Hit enter, and then our studio kindly gives us this boilerplate um, Shiny code, right? So if you go to the textbook and then free text, there's a code, right? So let's copy and then replace this here, UI function, and then run app, save selected, right? So there you go. So text input function, right, allows you type short text. I mean, it doesn't do anything because we don't have the server function. The password, tell me about yourself. Again, this is for a long string, paragraphs of text, right? So if you were to change, say, what is your ID? And then reload. So you can see that the label changes, right? And then say rows 3. So this text box here looks like there's a 3 lines here or 3 rows. But if we were to change this to 10, then reload app, save selected, there you go. Okay. So again, these 3 functions are built into our Shiny package. They are ways to capture free text from the users. Very good. I'll see you in the next video for the next section.